Liam Crause, welcome to the stage. I'm loving the varied accents this afternoon too. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Trudy, and good afternoon, everybody. And it's awesome to be here. So let's get myself sorted. It's always a good start. Right, so Trudy did a great job at introducing me, but as is customary working for a company that holds a lot of data, thanks to OneCard, Juanita, I still haven't had a chance to thank you for that yet, but as is customary, it's always, we like to introduce ourselves based on what's in our shopping carts. It's just a slightly more intimate way for people to get to know us. So here's the things you'd typically expect to see on my shopping cart or my shopping list. So milk and gallons of it. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they're going through that stage of independence where they just want to pour the milk into everything that they can themselves, and I see a few people nodding. So mostly gallons of milk because it's on the floor rather than a cereal bowl. Avalanche Coffee, I have a bit of a sweet tooth for their coffee brands. I'm not much of a coffee connoisseur, so coffee out of a sachet does me just perfectly fine. Carrots, that's for Molly the Beagle. She loves the carrots as a treat. I've recently discovered the Collective Greek yogurt. It's delicious. I absolutely love it. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't tried it. And then, of course, just for myself, anything from the beer chiller. So today's session, so why am I here? So I'm essentially here just to talk to you about retail media. You would have heard from various speakers today, bits and pieces about it. There's been a lot of noise about it in the press and the media recently. And my objective is for you to walk away today to be really clear on what retail media is actually all about. I'm also just going to talk to a little bit about the 5 driving forces behind the industry. I've got a few things to show you in terms of how to use retail media effectively, and then touch on a little bit about what's next for retail media. Before I get into all of that, Cartology being a very new business, I just wanted to take the opportunity to share a very short video with you just to show you who we are and what we do, because I think it's really important just to help set the scene.
Meet Kalinda, Sarah, and Mark. Customers are our focus, our priority. Without these customers and the millions just like them, we wouldn't exist. You see, Countdown is all about customers. Everything we do has a customer right here at the center. Cartology is all about connecting brands with these customers at the moments that matter most. If it doesn't end in one of these, then forget it. We see more than 2.9 million transactions each week. These aren't customers that happen to be walking past. These are engaged people who are searching, browsing, walking aisles, or picking a delivery window, all with the intention to actually purchase. With over 1 million data points from 1.8 million OneCard members and over 150 million transactions each year, we get what makes customers tick. We have trusted relationships with over 1.6 million one-to-one connections to customers here in New Zealand. And now we're on a mission to make our customers your customers too, giving you impact at every single step of the customer journey. Cartology puts you in front of real people in the moments that matter most, driving sales overnight and customers over time. With the ability to report through to individual sales, we make campaign investment accountable. Our digital offers provide you with greater access and opportunity to engage and impact millions of customers, whether they're browsing, searching, or seeking inspiration online. As one of the most trusted brands in New Zealand, customers look to us for information and inspiration. After all, if it doesn't end in a customer, does any of it matter? Cartology. We get customers.
Right, so you would have heard the moments that matter most, and it's not the first time you've heard that today. And myself and Dom will no doubt debate over a beer later who coined the phrase first. Um, so before we get into it, I actually just want to define what retail media actually is. And if you were to ask Wiki what it was, you'll hear that it's defined as marketing to consumers at the point of purchase or the point of choice between two competing brands or products. There are common techniques which would usually include store advertising, online, sampling, loyalty cards, and coupons and vouchers. But retail media is a lot more than that. It's the ability to influence customers at the point of purchase, but also the ability to connect with customers throughout the entire shopping journey. So when you have a look at the definition behind me, I guess we kind of spent some time as a business looking at it. But ultimately, retail media is now what we've termed as sofa-to-shelf solutions. So in simple terms, this means that retail media provides brands with an opportunity to connect with customers wherever they are and whatever their desired brand outcome is. So retail media solutions fuel discovery, engagement, and ultimately conversion. But critically, retail media affords brands the increased accountability through a deeper understanding of customer behavior. And that's through closed-loop reporting, which provides a clear line of sight from exposure right through to transactions. This view, beyond exposure, offers powerful insight into the retail impact of marketing communications, representing an incredibly and valuable overlay to traditional media channels, such as impressions, clicks, and reach. And retail media is incredibly unique. And there's so many different ways that it is unique, but I've probably just pulled out three that stood out for me. So one-to-one customer relationships, enabling precise targeting and an enhanced customer experience through customer-centric solutions. And with that large and engaged audience, RMNs or retail media networks are uniquely positioned to work with FMCG brands and to help them grow. We've all heard about the 4 Ps, and we're now seeing the emergence of the 5th P, proximity, giving you unassailable context for inspiration and education along the omni-channel customer shopping journey. There's that word again, omni-channel. I must be honest, I don't hate the term. Bruce was the one who stood up here and said, you can say omni-channel if you can actually deliver on it. I'm not going to go as far as being arrogant and saying we can, but we can. And then closed-loop reporting and effectiveness and customer reward. So first-party retail data adds a unique layer through measurement and closed-loop reporting that truly quantifies the impact from both transactions as well as customers over time. You heard earlier from Richard and how he spoke about retail media being that third wave, or digital advertising's third wave. So we can see from this chart behind me that retail media is set to grab 1 in 8 digital advertising dollars. And why is it called the third big wave? Well, you'd have to go back to the early years of digital advertising when budgets were just starting to come online. So Google was obviously a big player in this, and it brought those dollars online. The noughties, the decade, from 2000 to about 2010, was really the search era of digital advertising. And then we started to see a shift around 2010, which was more of the social era, and there was a lot of new growth coming from social. And then as we think about the next decade, the 2020s, we really see the emergence of retail media as that third big wave. By the way, all of these areas continue to grow and grow significantly. And they just keep building on each other, which is why we see this curve, which is fairly exponential growth for any form of digital advertising. Yes, the retail media market is hot right now. And if we had to look overseas to the US, we'd see that they're following 2 consecutive years of growth of 50% and above. So they're forecasting that retail media is going to rise 31% to $40 billion in 2022. And by 2023, retail media will account for nearly 1 in 5 digital ad dollars. And in turn, the Boston Consulting Group is forecasting that retail media investment will reach $100 billion per year over the next couple of years. $100 billion. Scary stat. So it's no surprise then that competition is on the rise. So with the growth and hype of retail media, we're seeing competition intensify as retailers, content players, and disruptive global platforms are all battling for attention, data, and ultimately media revenue. So you can see behind me, with all that hype, we're lucky to be fortunate. We're fortunate to be part of an industry that is accelerating, an industry that is creating growth, and more importantly, an industry that has ample opportunity. Pretty much everyone with an e-commerce site and a brick-and-mortar store seems to be in retail media game these days, with the minimum offering of placements like sponsored products. So you can see behind me, here's a snapshot of the global players and what they've achieved through scale. I guess with the exception of Amazon, is not on that list because, let's face it, Amazon just far outpaced the competition, right? So this table is an accumulation of high-level info to give you an idea of their respective offerings, programs, and partnerships for comparison. And it's a pretty comprehensive list. And I can tell you that that's just growing and changing by the day. Right. This is a subject that's going to make a few of the agency partners in this room feel a bit twitchy. But it shouldn't. And I'm going to tell you why. So, how is retail media attracting brand investments? So retail media and shopper marketing, or as we sometimes refer to it as trade marketing, have long gone hand in hand. And for quite obvious reasons, actually. So if the main aim of shopper marketing is to help influence a customer's decision to buy a product or a brand, marketing is there to help influence a customer's decision. So there's really no better way to do this or better opportunity to do this than right when they are deciding in that moment. So retail media gives shopper marketers the ability to influence choice, in the moments that matter most. However, for brand marketers, the link between retail media and their own discipline has been a lot less clear. So while retail media is undoubtedly influential in attracting shopper attention, there has been a widely held view amongst brand marketers that it doesn't do a very good job at the longer-term brand building goals. Okay? But as that retail media landscape begins to evolve, there are 4 key factors helping to create a stronger opportunity for brand marketers and retail media. Earlier again, we heard Bruce he mentioned about having a chat to a senior client recently about talking how within organizations there are still marketing teams that work in silos. And I've seen it firsthand. So although part of the same organization, shopper and brand marketing teams don't always work closely together. In my time in shopper marketing roles across various FMCG businesses, it was a constant us and them scenario. They often have different goals, they use different data sets, and then just naturally segregated from each other. But we're starting to see those barriers fall between those teams, which is really good news. And I guess retail media is probably the key driver of this change, or in my opinion at least it is. So retail media, as we know, it connects brands and shopper teams by providing a common data set for targeting, insights, and campaign measurement. That campaign measurement is really important. We'll get onto that in a little bit. So while shopper marketers continue to focus on the lower end of the funnel, that more transactional side, the brand marketers can obviously just focus on awareness to intent to action and effectively unifying that previously disconnected path to purchase. So of the many advantages retail media offers, possibly the most compelling is the direct link that it provides to both shoppers and sales. For brand marketers, this means that the ability to reduce waste. So we talk about waste and the ability to being able to quantify and specifically target and have hyper targeting, right? But more importantly, retail media gives brand marketers the opportunity to understand the impact of their investment on sales. A handy tool for CMOs to defend diminishing budgets as we face into some tough times. Then, pre-digitization. So retail media largely took the form of in-store point of sale. And as we've experienced firsthand over the past couple of months, we're seeing how point of sale assets have now been supplemented with an ever-expanding range of digital assets or channels. And these are tending to have greater relevancy with brand marketers who are working much further up that sales funnel, as we mentioned. But what this means for brand marketers is that they can use this customer data to connect with audiences on platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok to raise awareness at huge scale. So how do you go and find those people off canvas and bring them in? Okay. Better data isn't the only driver of change here. With many retailers now offering integrated, co-branded campaigns that combine high-impact ad formats with sales-driving transactional ads, which is another huge opportunity for brand marketers. So we're starting to see how brand retail marketing can give you the opportunity for those co-branded opportunities with great success. It gives you an opportunity to tell a little bit more than just a brand story. And the final factor reshaping brand investments in retail media is advertising and media, and is advertising and the media agencies. This is where you guys come in. So that next evolution of retail media is from moving from managed service, largely what we deliver today, to self-service. So for agencies who like to consult on everything from data to ad inventory, managed services strip away that granularity and that control. But with technology being the driver of change, a growing number of retailers now offer self-service platforms. So what does this do? Well, this gives brands and agencies the chance to see what opportunities these platforms present. Dom, was this your doing? Forgive me. So, thank you. So, while there's still some way to go here, there are a number of self-service offerings which continue to grow. And I guess over time, we're going to see how at least we'll have a better chance to see what retail media can do when employed as a brand-centric tool. A couple of charts, because I'm mystifying the fact that brand marketers are only the colouring in department. My finance colleagues would be very happy to see this. But again, just wanting to draw attention to the fact that, that retail media, how it's doing overseas. So if we have a look at brand budgets and how they're shifting into retail media, first off, this is going to be helped by the overall growth in digital advertising. There's no doubt about it, which we know continues to grow strongly across all of these categories. They're all experiencing double-digit growth this year, according to eMarketer's latest forecasts. But the two categories with the biggest growth are FMCG and retail, at 20 and 18% respectively. And both of these will flow directly into retail media in a lot of ways. But Liam, where are these budgets coming from? Well, I think this is probably a subject of much debate. This Merkle study behind me shows how brand media and e-commerce have been the top two funding sources for retail media. And certainly those are growing sources for retail media in general. But the big news of the past year has been the big unlock in terms of shopper and trade dollars, which have traditionally sat mostly offline and in store. So you can see here in the black bar at the bottom of this chart how those shopper and trade dollars are starting to catch up to the rest. There's also a huge upside for retail media networks to grow. Here we're looking at retail media networks stacked against the rest of the marketing channels. Brands have said how much their budgets go against each one, from 0%, 1 to 9%, and so on, right up and 30% and above. And you can see that retail media is right at the top for 0%, which a lot of brands have not yet started investing in retail media. And I say yet because that's certainly the most important thing to remember. So it shows just how much retail media is in its infancy with regards to starting to extract those brand dollars. There's also huge potential to not just attract first-time brand investment, but also to move those budgets in that 1% to 9% range to a lot higher up. So I think we're going to see more investment in retail media as it grows, as well as higher investment from people who are already investing in the channel. Right, the driving forces behind retail media. So the catalyst of retail media evolution can be credited to 5 driving forces. In a nutshell, and an organic one in that, it's pretty simple. The pandemic changed customer behavior, as we've already discussed today. But that's accelerated the growth of digital and e-commerce. But this growth is on a collision course with the new privacy laws, which are about to come into effect. This means that in a new digital era, marketers must find new ways to be relevant, and they need a solution that can provide ROI, but more importantly, trust. So now we're just going to take a slightly more in-depth detail at each of these. So the first of these driving forces is customer behavior. So what we know of the customer is true. The customers and their behavior has changed. They're in control like never before, control of the media they consume, the brands they engage with, how they engage with them, where they engage with them, the products they buy. But this change hasn't happened overnight, although the pandemic obviously accelerated that change quite significantly. So other than making toilet paper a three-ply commodity, the pandemic accelerated their growth in digital and e-commerce. And a couple of stats around that in terms of how that transformation has taken place. So over three quarters of shoppers have changed the way they shop for groceries. Over 30% of customers are now omni-channel, meaning they shop both online and in store. And really interestingly, 61% of shoppers are researching online before going in store. So they're coming into store with so much more information. So what, Liam? We've heard all of this. People before you have already said this. So the so what, I guess, behind this first force is the fact that, well, this change in customer behavior means that there's a need for new e-commerce and digital offerings. Retail media networks are investing in their e-commerce and digital capabilities, servicing customers no matter where or how they shop. And by combining their data with their online stores and the intimacy of brick and mortar stores, we've been able to form a closer relationship with customers. So the closer our relationship becomes, the more we understand and adapt to their needs. So if more people are headed online, then what does privacy and the cookie apocalypse mean for marketers? We all know it's coming. It's no secret. Everyone's trying to prepare for it. You know how it is. You browse for a pair of sports shoes, and next thing they're following you around for what feels like a lifetime. Say anything too close to your phone, and Mark Zuckerberg starts feeding you ads for whatever it was that you've been saying. I've been saying new golf clubs to my phone for the last 6 months, but my wife doesn't seem to have caught on. Anyway, I guess, luckily for consumers, when it comes to iOS tracking permissions, the cookies are about to crumble. And with government's regulation coming into effect and third-party cookies set to disappear, first-party data that retail media's hold is going to become so valuable. But so what? With no visibility over their audience, marketers will have to move from precision targeting to context-based targeting, which, let's be honest, can only go so deep. So how do you get the precision of third-party data without cookies? Well, the answer is retail media. Quite interestingly, I saw something on LinkedIn recently, which was, in my opinion, a fantastic use of data and personalization. So there was a guy sat in hospital, ordered himself Macca's because we know how shit hospital food is. And the photo was of his McDonald's or her McDonald's, so I can't remember, that had arrived with a note from Macca's to say, "We've seen you've ordered from a hospital bed. We wish you a speedy recovery. Your meal's on us." Now that's powerful. That's how consumers want their data to be used. Sorry. Right, so the third force. If it wasn't already the holy grail for marketers, it surely is now, and I'm talking about ROI. Increasing budget pressure and the accountability means marketers must have a true understanding of the impact that their dollars can make across the platforms. So there's also increasing pressure to practice more effective and efficient marketing. So what, Liam? What about it? Well, if you want guaranteed ROI, you need accountability, you need reliability, visibility, and of course, the word I've just made up is the make it happen ability, because we all know that in order to get true ROI, it's not just about implementing, but it's implementing successfully. So unlike other media buyers which only tell you click-through rates and engagements, we can tell you results and figures from awareness right through to every single sale. Every single sale. We can tell you which media channels have attributed to which sales. So we also offer zero-waste media targeting. I've spoken about that before, where we kind of hope that you put something out there into the world and that maybe only 40% of your target market are going to see it. I guess it's a different scenario within the retail environment. You know, when they enter our stores, they're primed to purchase. The fourth one is relevancy. So the need for relevancy will never go out of date. As a matter of fact, customers' expectation of relevant content in the right context has grown. You know, curated news feeds, retailer recommendation bars, Spotify playlists, Netflix suggestions. Customers expect brands to know them inside and out. With retargeting, consumers are seeing ads that reflect their interests and search history. But the so what here with relevancy is that, well, when relevancy becomes a vital currency, you need to be able to target customers in those moments that really matter. You don't want fragmented communications. Ads shouldn't get in the way. We just want to help them in ways that genuinely assist them while they're shopping. We already know shopping is a very stressful activity. So whether they enter our stores, when they enter our stores, they give up their mental availability, giving brands the opportunity to win that moment and be there when they really want to hear from them. With omnichannel, Retail Media Network provides contextual advertising like no other. Can you all still hear me okay? Yeah? Well, so this is advertising which creates and sustains as much impact as possible is key to building brand saliency. But what are these promises without trust, you might ask? So the final driving force is trust. When it comes to media, accountability and performance are paramount. So who do you know how to trust? Trust is much like reputation. It's never been as valuable as it is today, and it can't be built overnight, and it certainly can't be bought. Since 1924, Woolworths has built a business that puts brands and marketers and customers first. So that trust also extends with the work we do with our brands and marketers. Retail Media offers you on-platform media, so 100% brand-safe environments. We only count sales and customers who are on our rewards program. We don't need to inflate the numbers that we put out there. We'd much rather underclaim the impact of and build that trust than overstate our significance. So in other words, you can bank on our numbers when it comes to retail media. Right, so there you have it. So, customer behavior, those changes have demanded better digital and e-commerce offerings. Privacy, the increased value in our first-party data. Relevancy, the capitalization on moments when they matter. ROI, the accountability. And trust equals the need for 100% on platform. Right. Yes, this is why I said I don't dislike the word omnichannel. So, as a business, we set out and did some research not so long ago. And I'm going to share some of those findings with you because I think it's really important because I guess until we have a replacement for the word omnichannel, in my opinion, the word is here to stay. So today's grocery shopping is very much choose your own adventure. There are now multiple ways to fulfill your shopping journey. So from in-store to online to click and collect, and to some markets not here yet, but direct to boot. At its best, in-store can be inspiring, and at its worst, it can be stressful, especially when you've got kids dragging along next to you, right? But despite this behavioral change, we saw in-store sales increase by 1.8% in 2020. Offline is favored for its efficiency, but at its worst, it can be clunky and difficult to navigate, especially for the boomers. Despite this, we saw an average weekly online visits to our online shopping websites increase by 37% over the last year. That's quite phenomenal. For some, pickup provided a great solution in enabling customers to plan and save time, but at its worst, it's a little bit of a doubling up effort. You place that order with every intention of just running in to pick up your bags waiting for you, but you suddenly realize that, oh shit, I need to grab more milk because the kids spilled half of it over the floor this morning. And so I guess, there's a little bit of duplication. And then direct to boot. So this, direct to boot has emerged as a performance option around this whole contactless world. And I guess, for a lot it's proved to be useful, but for some others it's increased wait times. We're very impatient as people, and we want things immediately. So as we've seen, online grocery shopping was the hero for many during lockdown, but it wasn't just safety that brought that about. So through our research, customers called out a few specific things: efficiency of navigation, visibility over different products, greater control over spend, although recent research has shown us that online people are more susceptible to add an extra item into their basket. They're more susceptible to being tempted to trying something new as opposed to in-store. Why? Because there's less distractions. Ease of delivery, and the convenience to order anytime and anywhere. Grocery shoppers are also now choosing between function and emotion. So while it used to be about whether you loved or hated shopping, it's now about whether the shopping grocery environment best suits your mindset. Through the research, we were able to identify two distinct mindsets. So the first is the functional shopper, more rational and analytical in the way they shop, and this individual would probably more prefer online shopping and its efficient and ordered nature. Comparatively, on the other side of the scale, we identified the emotional shopper, more open to inspiration, more people-orientated, visual, intuitive, and preferring the discovery of the in-store experience. Personally, that's me. That's probably where I would sit. But importantly, these two mindsets are not mutually exclusive. Customers can easily move up and down the scale depending on their shopping mission, the fulfillment option, or even the product and choice. The new omnichannel landscape allows customers to tailor the shopping needs to best suit their mindset. There it is again. 30% of shoppers told us that they're now omnichannel. Okay? Carrying out their grocery shopping both inline and on-store at least once a week. These customers were importantly also ambidextrous. They're equally comfortable in-store and online. Of that remaining 70%, 66% were in-store only, and 4% were online only. So what more do we know about these omnichannel shoppers? The omnichannel experience enhances discovery, confidence, and enjoyment. So compared to those who shop in store or online only, omnichannel shoppers like to discover new products, they enjoy grocery shopping more, and they're a lot more confident in the online environment. Seemingly greater familiarity drives greater engagement, which in turn drives greater enjoyment. However, as efficient and irrational as the online shopping experience can be, it's important that it does not become reductive. And Bruce spoke a little bit about that this morning. bricks and mortar are never going to go away. They really are the lifeblood of the industry. Okay? So compared to the in-store experience, where customers have a vast array of products from which to choose, the online realm can be myopic, where choice and visibility of products is limited. As customers increasingly become familiar with the online shopping process, they adopt routine behaviors such as using a save list or regularly buying the same items. Discovery and inspiration becomes less important, right? Because we want it to be efficient. But to ensure that the product messages cut through, online shopping needs to remain simple and easy, but without creating or contributing to fatigue or mundanity. As I mentioned, despite that rise in e-commerce, in-store remains the engine that drives the grocery shopping experience. It's also considered as the preferred and proper way to shop. Certainly if you spoke to my dad, he'd say that he'd agree with that. Through the research, we asked customers what their preferred and proper way was to shop. And from the data, you can see 74% of customers said that in-store was their most preferred channel. 71% of customers said that in-store was the most reliable. And 62% of customers said that in-store was the proper way to shop. And even for those who shop online regularly, half would still prefer to shop in-store, especially for small shops. So, 53% considered in-store to be the most reliable, and 65% considered it to be the best way to do a top-up shop. And I guess a large part of that is because of its immediacy. But we're starting to see the change now. We're starting to see retailers being able to capitalize on that opportunity. Get your groceries in less than 60 minutes. Get your groceries in less than 30 minutes. I don't know who's going to win the race, but we'll have to wait and see. I wasn't looking at you, Dom, I promise. So, when we spoke to all customers about their shopping journeys, they felt that in-store was the more immersive and human-centered experience compared to online. And this was driven by three things. Discovery and inspiration, which I've mentioned, so the opportunity to find something new or to be inspired by a new meal deal. Visualization and sensory, people love to pick things up, hold them. The health conscious in us loves to pick up the product and read the ingredients list. Interactions with staff was the third one. We went through a period where we were lonely. We went through a pandemic. We were all at home. We were sick and tired of the people that we lived with, our families. But a lot of people live alone, and going into store is probably the most human interaction that they have in their week. And so, that experience is just something that we can't actually put a value on. And as customers experiment with omni-channel shopping model, they increasingly apply behaviors that they've learned in store when navigating the journey online. So sometimes with varying degrees of success. The in-store navigation, for example, is a process that is baked into customers' minds. When trialing new methods, online customers can find navigation clunky. I'll signpost the journey in store and more effectively curates product needs. The online store does not effectively replicate this, meaning people sometimes forget items. So, you think about signposting. We often have a bit of a laugh about the difference between a male's journey and a female's journey throughout the stories. My wife's journey would tend to kind of look like that, whereas mine was, we get in, we get out. But, still plays an important role. But there remains a challenge for retailers to effectively replicate the nature of fresh produce. We know that online, it's a category that people don't tend to trust the person who's picking their delivery or their products to choose the freshest stuff, an avocado that's not bruised or an avocado that's not ripe. And so we've got a way to go to how to replicate that online. And then the need for now. So customers taking the immediacy of in-store for granted and can get frustrated when using online fulfillment options such as pickup and home delivery. But hopefully with express delivery and the likes with Uber, that's starting to change. And as we've already seen, the evolving customer journey is complex. However, traditional communication staging, post awareness, consideration, and trial are still punctuating that journey. But today there is more overlap than ever before. To help guide customers through the journey, brands need to show up in a continuous and consistent way. especially in high volume and high value categories where customers are exposed to more messages across more channels than ever before. And these messages are all contributing to cluttering in an already well-stocked mental pantry. The mental pantry is like a sponge, soaking up fragments of brand information all the time, which then can lay dormant for some time and is only activated once that customer begins to shop. And as I mentioned earlier, 61% of customers are researching online before buying in store, or ROBUS as the acronym was termed. So, customers are arriving in store with a plethora of information. And brands have a critical role to play in positively influencing customer choice. Firstly, as we talked about, there's the lasting benefit in continually restocking the customer's mental pantry. And when it comes to infrequent or unfamiliar purchases, customers look for ratings and reviews to better inform their choice. And of course, the omni-channel journey means that new information is only a keyboard or a touch away. Right, a lot of information in there. I'm now just going to very quickly show you how to use retail media effectively. And I've pulled out one example here, and there's a lot of examples, but I've used one that's quite recent because this is a campaign that I thought has excelled exceptionally well. I've spoken about the fact that, how does retail media and how does your traditional advertising channels complement each other? And here's a brand that's done that exceptionally well. So when you have a look at their omni-channel approach, this was a really good example of how they've approached it across a few different stages. So they did the education piece, first of all, telling their consumers, telling their loyal brand consumers that they were taking 2 products off the shelf and taking it out of the range so that the next time they went into store and it wasn't there, they weren't horribly disappointed. They then had this big message about the best Coke ever. Quite provocative, right? But they're on a quest to get the taste of a zero sugar product as close as they can to traditional Coke. And I must commend them on it. I actually gave it a go over the weekend. I'm a big rum drinker, and I've never been able to find a mix to go really well that's got zero sugar in it. But I'm not going to lie, it's the best Coke ever, in my opinion. So they've done a really good job at then going, okay, we've done this education job. We've told consumers we're taking products off the shelf. They've now done this big announce. They've spoken about this new brand. It's been provocative, right? And they've run it for a couple of weeks. But what they've done really well is that they've come back and they've re-engaged. And this is probably the piece that I don't think too many brands understand or get right. We tend to see activation gets put in for 4 weeks. It runs and then that's it. And we expect to see long-term trajectory. And in some cases you do. But these guys get it. They've now come back to re-engage. They've got their message out there about this product. People are hopefully now trialing it. And now to get them to come back and repeat their purchase, they've got a win. They're enticing people with a win message and bringing them in. So to me, just a really good, effective way of how these guys have not just used omni-channel within the retail media landscape, but actually how they've used their other channels to complement what they've been doing. I'm going to very quickly touch on what's next for retail media because I'm running slightly over time. But this is 3 big things. So, firstly, retail media moves up that funnel, attracting more brand marketing investments in things like video and display, but also across new platforms such as TikTok and connected TV. The opportunity to target audiences at scale using first-party data will increasingly become attractive to brands. So how do we, in essence, go and find them off our networks or off our platforms and bring them in to our ecosystem, okay, using that first-party data? Secondly, is the offline attribution piece. The 85 to 90% of sales that are still happening in stores is still, for the most part, massively underutilized and under-leveraged. This gives clarity on which channels to give credit to in terms of their impact on driving customer transactions. So if we can continue to build on this and make it as close to real time as possible, evolving it to become a powerful campaign planning tool, then we'll have something really compelling to inform channel selection and optimization. So it goes back to that ROI piece. How do we advanced technology, that attribution? How do we make informed decisions so that for the next time those brands are bringing their hard-earned brand dollars to us, we're actually making informed decisions and, more importantly, using the learnings going forward? I guess it's always been really tough as well to distinguish between something's worked, but was it because of the price promotion that was running in store at the same time? And last but not least is in-store digital media is also something to look out for, as there is greater emphasis both globally and locally on in-store digital media. You know, we live in a world where we're a lot more conscious about sustainability. So things like digital screens, video walls, and beacons, which will become more prevalent in store over the next year, combining all of these will be a key piece on the path to purchase. So that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. Retail media is evolving, and with that, so can you. Thank you very much for your time today, and remember that if it doesn't end in a customer, does any of it actually matter?
Thank you.